And we are live. Guys, welcome to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm glad to be here, glad to be podcasting. And I have another guy from Louisiana here. You know, I love talking to these charter boat captains because I love going out and catching fish with them so much. It's just so much fun. Tonight, I have none other than Captain Shawn Mitchell of Salty Frog Charters. He charters out of Hopedale, fishes a whole lot of the areas down there, all the cool places like Delacroix, Shell Beach, the Biloxi Marsh, and I'm sure I'm leaving. Yeah, Hopedale. How you doing tonight, Shawn?
Doing great, Jay. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you on, man. You know, guys, I called up Captain Shad and said who would he recommend? Captain Shad St. Pay of Cajun Outcast, one of my favorite captains. And he said, man, I'm standing here next to a guy, Captain Shawn Mitchell. They were out fishing that day out of Hopedale. And here he is. So, Shawn, tell me, what are you catching this time of the year?
Man, this time of the year is pretty much a mixed box. It's speckled trout, sheephead, black drum, redfish, the occasional flounder, the elusive unicorn of the marsh.
Yeah.
But it's really a mixed box this time of the year, just because it's kind of that late winter fixing to go into spring transition that's happening right now.
Man, what an exciting time of the year to be there, you know, with that many different kinds of fish being available. You know, boy, I tell you, did you mention reds?
Yes, redfish too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because those are my favorite fish to fight with. Those are my favorite fish to eat. But I tell you, there's just something special about catching speckled trout. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because after they hit about 18 inches, they start to really fight, and you hold up your rod and sometimes they jump 2 feet out of the way. Guys, if you've never been down here, put this on your bucket list. Talk to Captain Shawn Mitchell. And book a trip. You will not be disappointed with the marsh in Louisiana. I've gone out there and I've caught 200 specks before. I've gone out there and I've caught redfish until my arms hurt. Now, I'm not telling you every time you're going to come out here you're going to catch 200 specks, but it happens, doesn't it, Shawn?
It really does. And you know, the marsh down in the Hopedale, St. Bernard Parish area of Louisiana, it's so diverse. You can go out there and be fishing for speckled trout and actually catch freshwater species such as bass or freshwater catfish too. You know, and it changes throughout the year, so it's a challenge. It's not like you can go out there and pull up to the same spot you pulled up to yesterday and wail on the fish again. You know, fish have fins, they have gills, they move. Yes. And you know, when you come down here and you hire one of the great captains that are in this area, you're really paying for the expertise. They put in a lot of hard work, just going around making sure we're staying on top of fish, and just the experience of that individual to know what they're doing from year to year and season to season and day to day is really invaluable to your trip.
Oh, Captain, if somebody wanted to book a charter with you, how would they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is to text me or call me at 985-277-9277. And I also have a website. It's www.saltyfrogcharter.com. And I'm also on Facebook.
Okay. Okay, so guys, you know, if you want to, okay, I got that going across the bottom of the screen now, Captain Shawn.
I appreciate it, Jay.
Guys, do yourself a favor. If you have ever thought about fishing the salt, or even if you haven't, take it from me. Most of you know I grew up in Northern Illinois, and I fished all over the Northwest, the Midwest, all over it. Up into Canada. I fished Alaska, all the way over to New York, all the way down to Florida. But I'll tell you, I have fallen in love with the Louisiana marsh. A boy from Illinois, I still haven't wrapped my mind around how many fish are out there. It's mind-boggling when you. I was out at the first rigs one time, and a school of pogies came by, and it must have been 200 yards in diameter, just fish jumping as far as the eye could see. That's what fuels this. I've seen schools of shrimp and they start popping, and I've seen schools of reds. It's just been amazing. I'm sure you've seen that, haven't you, Cap?
Oh yeah, actually, that kind of jogged my memory about a trip I had with a father and daughter. Actually, it was I had a boat and Captain Chad had a boat, and I heard him start hollering on the radio for me to go over there. We went over there. It was a big, giant school of bull reds just blowing up the water with some jacks also. And I mean, my customer actually typed out. He said, "Can we catch something smaller?" We were starting to reel in so many bull reds. I call them doing Cajun bicep curls.
Jeez, yeah.
They put up a little bit of a fight. They're fun to
They
catch.
sure do. They sure do. We have a comment from the audience. Actually, we have several comments. First one is from Jim, Freshwater Fishing Hall of Famer Jim Grant, the maker of Grant rods. He says, "Great to see the vast area of water covered professionally. My hat's off to you, Captain Shawn. Congratulations," from Jim Grant. Jim Grant's a great friend of mine. He makes some fantastic rods. Also, a good friend of mine, Cajun Rob, says speckled trout and flounder. Now that's eating.
That's the best eating you can get, fish wise.
Yes, I think so too. I like to take flounder and stuff them with sheep heads.
I like to stuff mine with a little crab meat, some breadcrumbs, and some herbs and stuff, and put it in there and bake it.
Yep. So. Put some spices in it. And I tell you, now we're talking about eating fish. One of my favorite things to do is to take reds on a half shell, put down some aluminum foil on the grill, and get the goodness soaked in butter. And then just sit there when it's, it only takes about 10 minutes for it to be done, and just sit there back and forth with lemons, squeeze lemons on it as it's cooking.
Oh yeah.
As it's cooking. So go ahead.
I said you were making me hungry, Jay. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but I'm a big boy. I gotta eat.
I'm a big boy too. Takes a lot of fish to fuel me. Geez. So let's talk technique. This time of the year, do you use popping corks for most things?
Popping corks is one of the techniques I'll use. Fish this time of the year, especially when that water temperature is getting below 60, they want a slow presentation. Fish are cold-blooded. They don't want to exert a whole bunch of energy to find their food. And popping corks are a really good technique to use. Nice slow pops, current lines around points, on ledges, with a lot of shrimp or artificial. But popping corks very, very effective for both redfish and speckled trout and flounder. It's kind of the main tool in the toolbox for most guys is a popping cork.
There's a lot of different kinds of popping corks. I personally like Undertaker corks, just because I believe in Kenny Krieger, who owns the company.
Well, I tell you what, I use that brand. I use the cup version, this one.
Okay.
What's unique about it is you get a lot of corks, and really cork fishing in salt water, I think there's a misconception out there. A lot of people, because they grow up, they're fishing with worms or they're fishing with crickets and they're throwing the cork out and it's sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you're doing with the popping cork in salt water. You're actually using it as a tool for presentation. So it makes, I don't know if you can hear these beads. you're popping it and you're making that sound. And basically think of that sound kind of as a dinner bell. You're calling the fish to the bait. And when they come up there, the shrimp or the bait or whatever's underneath it on the leader just happens to be there and they eat it. Uh, and then the action it causes when you're jerking it pulls that bait up in the water column. And then as that cork settles back down, it falls back in the water column. And they'll usually hit it on that fall, or if it's a live shrimp, they'll see it sitting there when they come to that sound. But I like the Undertakers just because it's a little bit higher pitch sound than most corks you can find. It's really durable. I mean, I've had bull reds blow up and actually eat the cork.
Oh yeah,
The cork.
those damn reds. Yeah, they used to do that.
But those bull reds will come after the cork thinking it's something to eat. But I mean, I love the sound of the cork. But really, once you learn how to use a popping cork, you've got about 75% of saltwater fishing figured out as far as presentation.
Yes.
But I mean, corks are invaluable, especially a good cork like Undertaker corks.
And guys, I didn't know you're going to look at it and you're like, oh, that's expensive. You get what you pay for. You know, if you're going to be fishing the marsh, you need a great rod. You need great corks, and don't skimp on things like line or hooks, because if you're using inferior hooks, the salt water is going to rust them almost immediately.
Yeah.
You need
And the
great
price,
hooks.
Jay, really, I mean, this cork, $7.50, I think, is retail on the cork. I've got corks that caught hundreds of fish, and I still
Yes,
use them.
I bet you do. You know, this cork right here is 3 years old, and I'm still using it.
Yep.
Undertaker. You know, one of the most important things, like you said, you know, you can use either lures or live shrimp. Of course, you know, live shrimp, they catch fish. Nobody disputes that fact.
Yeah.
But this thing right here,
Pineapple Express, Mojo Shrimp.
Pineapple Express Mojo Shrimp 2-inch.
Yeah.
MojoTackle.com. Mojo Tackle, MojoTackle.com. Go ahead and order you some of these. This is called Pineapple Express, like Captain Shawn Mitchell. He's probably caught hundreds of fish on that, and so have I.
Oh, you held up my favorite bait, Jay.
Yeah. You know, I don't see. In fact, I went fishing one time with Captain Chad, who's a good friend of Captain Shawn, out of Hopedale. We had 5 guys on the boat. All 5 of us were using Mojo Tackle 2-inch Mojo Shrimp Pineapple Express, and we whacked trout all day long, up to 20 inches long, and 20-inch. There he is, Cajun Outcast Charters. We were just talking about you, Captain Chad. Captain Chad just came on at Outcast Inshore Charters. Said, "Good evening, gents." Good evening, Captain Chad. Glad to have you here. Man, did we lose you, Shawn?
No, I'm here.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know I probably cut you off there, but I just got excited when I saw that.
Good.
Captain
You were
Chad.
talking about these Mojo Shrimp, Jay. I tell you what I like to do is I'll use the live shrimp. I'll throw it out there and get the fish fired up, then have the customers just start throwing the Mojo. You know, why waste live bait if you ain't got to when you get them fired up like that? And my favorite one, you held it up, Pineapple Express. Another good color I like to use from now and then is called Purple Rain.
Oh, yeah.
I've got that right there. You know, a lot of people will say these expensive, but you can probably catch 75 fish off this one bait. It's a really durable Teflon type material that it's made out of. So it doesn't tear easy, and the fish don't tear it up.
Actually, you know, we are just talking about this guy, but Greg Campbell, the owner of Mojo Tackle, just checked in. He's here too. Greg, we were just talking about your stuff about Pineapple Express. I'm not going to keep that Purple Rain. I'm not going to keep that a secret. because you still have to find the fish.
That's the key, finding the fish. Uh, and speaking of that, this time of the year, we were talking earlier offline. We're kind of in that transition period. It's late
Yes.
winter, fixing to go into spring. The speckled trout are moving around. Me and Chad actually went out the other day and found them where they starting to eat off a cork again, not so much in the deep water on Carolina rigs and drop shots like they were, which, as the water temperature turns up, the fishing warms up too. And it's
Yes.
like we're right on the verge of that. Any day now, I fully expect the light switch to go off and the fishing to get really good down in South Louisiana.
Well, I was out in Lake Calcasieu 2 days ago, and we were catching Captain Tommy Adams of Fish and Tom Charters, and I were out there, and we caught trout. We were only able to fish for a couple hours because the 30-mile-an-hour winds came through, and that's no joke out there in the marsh.
No, it's not fun at all.
No, it took us 45 minutes to get back across Lake Calcasieu. It took us about 20 to get out there. So, anyways, we fished for about 3 hours. I bet you we caught 20 trout apiece. They were all over. We didn't even have to move. We just put on spot lock. We stayed right there. And they were in 6 feet of water. Right up against the shore. It was so much fun. And just like I said, popping corks, Mojo shrimp, popping corks, live shrimp.
That's a really good sign. That water gets above 55 degrees. Usually when it starts climbing above that, the fishing gets really good. And what it is, Jay, that deeper water, it takes longer for the water in the deep areas to cool off. So those fish, because they can't regulate their bodies are regulated by their environment. They'll get in that deep water. And then as that sun comes out and warms up those flats and some of those bay areas and the shallow areas, they'll move back up and feed. And then right now, the other day when I went out, I think the water temperature was right at 67 degrees.
Ooh, nice.
So it's getting in that special between 65 and 73 area. If it stays there long enough, the fishing's going to be excellent. They're a little spread out. You're not going to find them grouped up like you would in the wintertime, but it's just so much fun to just troll around and catch fish and find little pockets of them and move.
So when you're saying spread out, so that means you're gonna doing a lot of running and gunning. You're gonna stop at a spot like a windblown point and cast for 10 minutes. If you don't catch something, you move on. But if you do, you probably catch 7 or 8, then you move on.
Yeah. What I'll do if there's an area or a shoreline I know traditionally holds fish, if I look back in my logbook and see it, I'll go to a spot and start, cast a few, may pick up 2 or 3. That bite dies down, hit the trolling motor and go another 30, 40 yards. You may find some more fish. It's not necessarily running and, putting full throttle on the outboard and traveling for 15 minutes. Those fish may be scattered along a whole shoreline, a 2 or 3 mile shoreline, and you're just leapfrogging shoreline trying to find little pockets of fish.
Something else, I love using my popping corks because I just catch so many fish doing that. One of my favorite ways to catch fish is jigging. Quarter ounce jig head with something like this. This is another Mojo tackle, a 3-inch, little swim bait. This is my favorite color. I know everybody has their favorite colors.
That is a very deadly bait, Jay. That little small profile on a drop shot in the dead of deep holes. Usually jigging, I'll use something from like that, smaller profile, or I'll go with a company that's called Marsh Demon on a 3/8 ounce. This one's kind of tore up. He's been eating a little bit, but
look at that.
Bait. It's a weird bait. Very unique. It from here, without the tail, looks like your traditional swim bait.
Yes.
You can't tell because one was been eaten off. It actually has 2 tails on the back.
Well, I can tell that used to, yeah.
Yep. And then when it comes down in the water column, those tails they flutter down.
Yeah.
It just drives the fish absolutely crazy. That little bit extra little action seems to trigger more bites. I've caught speckled trout on this. I've actually put this on a spinnerbait and caught redfish with it. Uh,
Wow.
it you can do it weedless and run it across the top of grass and stuff, and that little movement of the tail just kind of entices them a little bit. Very versatile bait, very good bait. Uh, Captain Chad, Outcast Charters, fishes with these two. Uh, really, really great bait. It's locally made. Great company. Uh, Tons and tons of colors. I mean, you can't. I don't think there's a color they don't make. They actually just came out with another color. I think it's called the Swamp Roach that they're going to release here in the next couple of days. But really great bait. This and the Mojo Shrimp is pretty much my primary artificials.
You know, when I'm fishing stuff like this, is swim baits in the marsh. If it's at least 5 feet deep, I like to put it on the lightest jig I can possibly put it on, and still get down in the current because I still need it to go down, and just cast it out 15 feet and just sit there and just let it pendulum down. And I'm following it, of course, because I love the way that trout bite. And Todd, yes, those are all saltwater baits. That's what we're talking about, is saltwater. They have to be made a little different because they'll deteriorate if they're made lesser.
Now, Marsh Demon J actually makes freshwater baits also. They
Do they?
make
Okay.
spinner baits. I think it's marshdemon.com is their website. You can Google them. They have a lot of excellent stuff if anybody's interested.
Okay. I love the way that trout bite. They don't try to take the rods out of your hands, but they just bite. And then with the way they shake their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, when you guys up north, like I know Todd's here and he's caught walleyes before. Their fight is very similar to that of a walleye, in that they shake their heads, and they have two fangs in the front of their mouths, and their mouths are yellow, and I think they look like vampires.
That's one of their nicknames, vampire. I almost equate it to fishing a miniature tarpon.
Okay.
Yeah, they shake. They'll jump out of the water. They'll dance on top of the water. Extremely fun with light tackle. I mean, there's just so many ways to fish them. Those and redfish. I mean, if you could bass fish, you can fish in salt water.
Absolutely.
But I mean, just the different range of techniques you can use. You can go on and on and on how to catch speckled trout and redfish here in Louisiana. There's so many techniques you can put in. But the primary being the popping cork and jigging for them. I mean, I've caught them on jerk baits. I love to go out to rocks, structure, deep canals, and just grass flats, and just use something like a Rapala X-Rap or something like that, and just catch them with jerk baits.
That's a lot of fun. I want to tell a story here real quick. I was out fishing with Greg Campbell from Mojo Tackle, and I love catching trout on light tackle. So I was throwing. I found we came to a spot that looked like there should be trout there. So I put on a swim bait, and I was throwing my lightweight tackle with 6-pound test line, and I got a bite that just doubled that little rod over double, and 3-foot diameter swirl, zeke. And I just sat there. And Greg's like, size line you using? 6.
You got robbed by redfish, Jay.
Yeah. And he's like, we could have had a red in the boat. We have a question here, Jonathan Hurdy's. He said, does Greg Campbell says 20-pound right on 6-pound test. Yeah, I knew he was going to give me some grief about that. Do you cater to large groups, Captain Shawn?
I actually have a lot of captains I work with. We can do very large groups. Also have lodging. the Patriot Lodge in Hopedale is where our boats are. Uh, I fish with Fredella Seafood, Cajun Outcast, 5-0 Charters, and of course me, Salty Frog Charters. So the biggest group you can get, or the bigger the group, the more captains we can get. We don't really have a limit to how many people you can fish with. Just give us a number, give us a call, and we'll make it happen for you.
Well, Jonathan, I hope you heard that. Just come on down. They'll set you up. They got, full service guides. They have lodging. I've stayed at some of their lodgings. It's nice. It's right on the water, and it's very nice not to have to drive through the middle of New Orleans in the morning to get there. You just wake up and you're right there.
Yeah, walk right across the street, hop on the boat, and get to look at beautiful face all day. Our probably the most beautiful person we have is Chad. I think he's the most beautiful captain we got.
Jeez, that's harsh. That's harsh. Yeah, but Greg Campbell's a 20-pound red on 6-pound test. Yeah, I learned about using 6-pound tests in the Marsh, Captain Shawn.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that. But then I started using my 20-pound mono, and I hooked into another fish that was probably half that size. And this one's mine. I got him in. And Captain Chad just said, "Shawn, you fool." Yeah, we have a lot of fun, guys. It's
Hey, I could tell you if y'all come on a charter with one of us, your feelings need to be left at the door. You need to be able to have some fun. I mean, we're serious about fishing, but at the end of the day, it's really to make memories and make sure that the clients have a good time. And you kind of have to be a little bit of an entertainer to do that, and have to be good with people and have to enjoy being around people. And I think all our guides from 5-0, Cajun Outcast, Fredella Seafood, and myself, we really enjoy people and enjoy putting people on fish and seeing people make memories. And I think that's what kind of sets the shed apart. That's what makes us special. So,
that's exactly how I guided for so many years. That's exactly what you want to do. Get to know your customers, have fun with them, and they'll keep coming back because all the guides know how to fish. Some of them know how to fish better than others, of course. That's just the way things are.
mm-hmm.
But if you know how to entertain them, they'll come back.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the place that you fish is so much better than the place I guided. Just the Louisiana Marsh is just so much fun. There's so many fish there. The diversity of the fishing, and just guys, if you come down here with your own boat, go out with a guy like Captain Chad. Go out with a guy like Captain Shawn the first several times, because it's so big, you can get lost.
Oh, Jay, you could fish our area for 20, 30 years and never touch the same water twice if you wanted to. It's so vast, so wide, and so diverse of an area. I mean, you could be in different scenarios, different fishing areas, 20, 30 plus years, and never get bored of it. And that's what makes fishing that area so exciting. You could see something different every single time you go.
And I bet there's fish in a lot of that water too. You just have to know what to look for in a set of circumstances.
That's it. And you brought that up. I get messages all the time on Facebook. Hey, can you give me some fishing spots? And I don't even have fishing spots. I have fishing conditions. So
there you go.
You're looking at the conditions of the water, the tide, the weather, which way the wind's blowing, is the water clean, where's the bait moving to, and that pretty much decides where you're going to go and where your highest potential of catching fish is going to be at.
Exactly. You got to look at what I completely agree with you. You have to look at this, at the conditions you're confronted with, and make an educated guess about where the fish are going to be. And even in the lakes up north that I've been fishing my whole life, I wasn't always right.
Yeah.
As soon as you think you know something about the fish will teach you differently.
Oh yeah, they'll change their mind and be somewhere else. And that's what you're paying for with a guide. You're paying for somebody who can make an educated guess and then have the ability to flip the script a little bit and change plans on the fly if they have to, if they see something that's not working out. That's really what you're paying for. Reasonable expectations is just getting somebody that knows what they're doing, and then them working as hard as possible to give you the best day possible, given the conditions of the environment around you when you're fishing.
Also, reasonable expectations for the marsh. That guide's going to get you home alive.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because guys, I mean, you guys from up north, I fished up there for first 45 years of my life. I know what it's like. But down here, it's different. You can be sitting there on the same spot, catching fish, not paying attention to what's going on. Next thing you know, you're on dry land.
Yep. Yep. You become a Ceto commercial.
Yeah. And if you don't have sea tow, you're going to be spending over $1,000 to have them come out and get you.
Yeah. Or you're going to have to jump out and push that boat through a lot of mud.
3 feet of mud. Yeah. And I don't mean, 3 feet. I mean 3 feet deep of mud. You're going to be up to your freaking waist in mud, and you have to push. And the mud stinks. Yuck. So yeah, guys, don't come on down here and fish, but first several times go out with a guy who knows what he's doing, has been doing it his entire life. I'm going to be really careful when I get my own boat, because there's no way I'm not going to take it out in the marsh. But I've probably been out in the marsh 30 times now, and I still don't feel like I'm ready.
And it changes year to year. So, the marsh is constantly changing with the water levels of the Mississippi River. Thank goodness the last couple of years the river's been really low. So the salinity's been really high in the marsh, which has really helped the fishery out. But like right now, the last couple of weeks, the water's been so low. It's been hard to get the boats in the slip, to be honest with you. We've been having to drive up on mud to get the boats lifted up in the slip. So if you don't know what you're doing out there with that water low, you're going to run. You're going to run where you think is 6 feet, and the map may say it's 6 feet there when you're looking at Navionics or something like that. It's actually 6 inches. So, if you don't know what you're doing, I would highly suggest at least the first time hire a guide. Go out there and be honest with the guide. Say, hey, look, I want to learn the main passageways. I want to learn the community honey holes and how to get to them safely. And that guide will most often oblige you and show you around. But yeah, it's so different out there in the marsh, and it can change, in the blink of an eye while you're out there. You're absolutely right, Jay.
Yeah, you guys just be careful. I'm certainly no expert in it, but I've been out enough to know how dangerous it can be. I've also been in boats enough to know what my weaknesses are. And, also, guys, don't go out there without an avionics trip, because shorelines all look alike, I think. And you got to have some kind of chip that shows you where you're at in relation to everything else.
Yeah.
In fact, when people buy boats, I tell them, spend a couple extra $1,000, get yourself a decent locator. But the best thing about that is the graphing GPS to show you where you're at and how you can get home, because you can just use your ship tracks, and that will tell you how you got there at least. Well, hey, Captain Shawn, do you have any shout outs you'd like to do?
Sure. A couple companies that I work with: Mojo Tackle, Undertaker Corks, Finn's Fishing Line, Braided Line, Marsh Demon Lures, Coast Custom Rods, uh, and then shout out to Cajun Outcast Fishing Club, and then the captains I work with: Cajun Outcast Charters, 50 Fishing, Fidela Seafood, and the Patriot Lodge.
Okay, well, very good. You know, guys, first of all, Captain Shawn Mitchell. Captain Shawn Mitchell, guys, right down there on the bottom on my crawler, I have his contact information. Give him a call, book a trip with him. I'm sure he's booking up fast for this summer. Um, I like to fish the marsh in October. I don't know why. It just seems to be one of my favorite months to be out there. But I'm sure that's a very, very popular month to book a guy like Captain Shawn. But okay, it's Wednesday. Make your plans for this weekend. Get out there, get out on the water. No matter where you live, get out there on the water. Because remember, you only get to do this once. And with that, I'm going to end the podcast. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to the Let's Talk Fishing Podcast Wednesday night edition.